All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Microsoft 365 Voice. My name is Sarah Haase, and I'm thrilled today that we have another special guest joining us. DC, welcome. Do you want to introduce yourself for all of our listeners?
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Sarah. Thank you, Antonio and Mike, all of you for having me on this episode. I'm DC Padur. I'm a program manager with the SharePoint Experiences team, and I focus on helping our customers with their modern intranets, the ability to build up intranets, sustain the intranets, and have the end users get the maximum benefit out of those intranets. That's my focus, and I work on publishing systems and features that help our customers with their modern intranets.
Fantastic. Mike and Antonio, do you want to finish the round of intros?
Sure. And I am Mike Malran.
And I'm Antonio Mayo.
Perfect. So all of our listeners know that normally we come with every episode, we pull a question out of our user question jar and we take it away. But since we have DC joining us, we're going to instead literally as many as we can fit in. We're going to ask him as many questions as we possibly can about modern intranets, home sites, and the like. And DC, it can get a little bit tough because many times Antonio and Mike and I will start asking questions. We're supposed to go one at a time, but then we'll start with the 27-part questions. So good luck.
Guilty.
Are you ready, DC?
I'm ready.
All right.
I'm geared up.
I have a hard question, and it's a pretty detailed question to get us started. Okay. So we've got the new at Microsoft Ignite this year. They announced the SharePoint App Bar, right, which has 4 tiles on it. The top tile is called Global Navigation. Global Navigation is configured in your home site settings, right? What on earth happens if you don't yet have a home site defined for your tenant? How do you define your global navigation?
The simple answer is just pick a communication site and make that your home site that allows you to create the global navigation experience on that site. So the question to be asked though is, why does a customer not have the home site and where are they going with their intranet experience? So as you mentioned, the SharePoint App Bar, it is an add-on experience, an out-of-box experience for all modern experiences in your organization. So I would first ask the question of, what is the top of your intranet? Is that not built on modern SharePoint? And where is your journey taking you? And what is your roadmap to getting there? But for the corner scenario of somebody who's in the middle of a migration or in the middle of, we have not yet launched the top of our intranet on a modern communication site, but rest of our intranet is pretty modern enough and we'd like to start doing this, the answer we give them is set up a communication site, make that your home site. You don't have to treat that as your top of your internet yet because you're in the middle of your moving from whatever classic solution or other experiences that you have. But while you're doing that, here it is, there is a communication site earmarked as a home site on which you can start from where you can start managing your global navigation. So the rest of your organization already has the benefit of the app bar. And when you are ready to actually launch a modern communication site as the top of your intranet, you can either switch it back to this home site or the existing home site can be launched as the top of your intranet, and you can continue reaping the benefits of home site experiences on top of that.
I only have 17 follow-up thoughts. So
that's why I'm here.
But I'll take one. Here's what I love about that messaging. And DC, not surprised at the message, but here's when I talk to people about home sites and hubs, and you and I have had this conversation frequently. A lot of companies have built out SharePoint communication sites, but they've not necessarily elevated that to home site status yet in their tenant. And the one thing that I saw immediately with this SharePoint App Bar and the ability to manage that global navigation, this is a great reason to go ahead and get started with defining a SharePoint communication site as your home site and start taking advantage of those home site features. And I think what I love about this announcement at Ignite, it is something tangible that a lot of companies are going to immediately take and is going to help propel them forward down that path.
Absolutely. That's always been our stance with home sites is home site. But if you do you have a home site essentially means two things. Do you have the top of an intranet site? And is that built as a modern communication site? That's what a home site means. So if you already have a communication site, there is no downside to elevating it to being the home site. That tells Microsoft that this is the most important site of your organization. And as we talked about, and you and I have talked about this, Sarah, is home site is where we want to bring more and more goodness. It is where we wanted to help our customers have the successful intranet and make their users find that information wherever they are. And one way of doing that is the global nav on the SharePoint App Bar. So wherever the users are in their entire SharePoint experience, they can quickly get back to the home site or access the resources from the global navigation curated in the home site.
Okay, so I have a follow-up question to this topic. Yeah, that we hear it all the time from the audiences and the customers. What advantages does the home site give me if I already have a communication site and I branded it and it has all the information? It might be a hub site as well and has all the navigation there. What advantages to elevate it to a home site? And does it give me more web parts that I don't have access to?
Great question. So yeah, I'll answer the second part of the question first. So the home, all web parts that are available in SharePoint can be used in all sites. So essentially, home site, as Sarah mentioned, it's an elevation of an existing communication site. It does have what we call superpowers, and some of them are available for all other sites, and some are uniquely available only for this one site. And there are reasons for why we did that. So, for example, if you think of the top of the internet, typically in most organizations, I know there are exceptions, but in most organizations, it's one destination. So there is that one site, which is special, very important. It's a branded location for a corporate communication, spends a lot of time on it. That's where everybody, you boot up your browser. That's where your browser takes you to. It takes you to your home site. So there is that one destination. So our motivation was to help elevate that site in unique ways that help with the site's discoverability. When we initially launched, we did 3 things with that site. When you make a communication site your home site, it automatically sets the search to be the entire tenant wide. It automatically sets that site to be an organizational news site. And the third thing is it allows for a new home button entry point in the SharePoint mobile app. So one of the big things of having a modern SharePoint based intranet is to have it be available on the go. So the SharePoint mobile app is a great way of having quick access to the resources of your entire internet, and specifically the top of your internet, and having that one home button where imagine you are a new employee on the go on the first day of in an organization, you fire up your mobile app, log in, and you have you don't have to remember the URL. You don't have to have already bookmarked it somewhere. It's right there. The home button on your app bar on the SharePoint app is right there to take you to your company's most important resources. And following on from there is this year we announced when you have a home site, it also allows you to curate global navigation on that site. And it also allows you to make that home site be pinnable as an app on the Teams. So these are special capabilities that are made available on the home site. And that's why we are encouraging our customers to build your top of your internet on a communication site and then make it a home site. And there's more ideas we have on how to make this unique value proposition going forward. But in general, this is our approach at this point.
Can I just do another one?
Yeah.
So we've talked about the global nav. That's really what Sarah talked about. Was basically all of us will have so many questions. We're just going to jump in all the time. So from a global nav perspective, that's going to come. The announcement happen at night. If I have already a global nav, which is a hub site, is there a conflict going to be between the hub nav and the global nav that comes with the home site?
Let me sure I fully understand the question. So you're saying here is the top of my internet, which is the home site, and it's also a hub site.
Correct.
Will there be a clash with the global navigation? That's your question.
That's correct.
So the design approach is that there will not be any clash. There need not be a clash. So you curate the global navigation on your home site. So you can either choose between using the global nav as the navigation provider, where the data is stored, or the site navigation itself. Either one of them can be used as your global navigation source, and it's up to you to have either overlapping links. So imagine the scenario where a user lands on the home site. They have a navigation that they see either in the form of a hub navigation or a site navigation. Those links can be completely different from what you see on the global navigation. In fact, we strongly recommend that the global navigation not be 100% mapped to the actual navigation experienced by a user on the home site itself. Home site has a dedicated experience. There are dedicated, in-site navigation experiences that might be part of the site navigation itself, whereas a global nav is something that spans the entire organization. In fact, it spans the entire digital estate of your organization. So you might have links in there to your line of business tools, important documents, or important resources that's not necessarily tied to your home site per se, right? You can have overlaps, but global nav serves a different purpose than the navigation on the home site itself. And the way we've designed it is you can have these two things be separate, and there will not be any overlapping. The users will not get confused between where to go, when to go, where.
Perfect. Like it.
Okay, I'm going to jump in, and I'm going to reserve the right to ask a couple of parts here because you guys. So I'm certainly not the expert on intranet and home sites, but I've done a few. When you were talking about when you take a site and you elevate to a home site, the advantages, one thing you didn't mention, and I think this is true, is the SharePoint app on the SharePoint Home page, like when you first log in, not SharePoint, but the Office 365 home page when you first log in, that SharePoint app takes you to your home site, does it not?
No, it does not.
Yep.
So one of the things that we were going to ship and we decided not to, and there was a little bit of a take back in light of the global navigation and the Teams app navigation and some future projects that I'm not yet able to share with you. The idea was that you click on office.com, you log in, you click on SharePoint. It still takes you to a SharePoint start page, what we call as the SharePoint Home or the SharePoint start page, where you will be able to see the branding and the shared navigation coming in from your home site. That was one of the ideas that we actually demoed. We wanted to ship that, but
I thought I saw that somewhere.
Yeah. So you're not imagining this. You're absolutely right. It used to be part of the package, but while that solved the problem of discoverability of just that home site and the site's content on the start page, immediately there was a lot of feedback from customers on we want more than that. We want that global navigation experience, the ability to have that one set of links or my wayfinding set of links, and either automatically curated through the service and the company defined set of links. I want that available across the organization, across my intranet was a big ask. So we had to rationalize which one were we going to invest on and get the maximum out of. And we decided to go with the global navigation being the better outcome here and solving many customer scenarios. So absolutely. So the best part here is once you have a global navigation setup, it'll show up in your start page as well. So the typical workflow will still work for you. You go to office.com, go to your click on SharePoint, start page loads up. You have that nice app bar showing up on the left, which gives you access to all of your sites and all of the company resources, including your home site.
Okay, very cool. I like that the navigation shows up on the start page. That is really cool.
Yep, everything will show up in the start page.
Okay, so my real question was going to be,
That's not your real question.
That wasn't my real question. No, I was leading to my real question. My real question is, if I take a communication site, I elevate it to a home site. I curate my navigation there, as you said, in order to get the app bar. And then let's say I demote that site from being a home site. Do I still have the global navigation?
So that's a very good question. The honest answer is we are working through those corner cases on how to handle this in the most frictionless way. So we have encountered typically the recommendation for our customers that we have published and we share through all of our conversations and videos is you take your time to build up the site that you want to serve as the top of your internet. And when you're ready to launch it, you make it your home site. So from that point of view, a home site is not something that changes every month, every quarter. It doesn't. it probably does not change that much at all. And given the flexibility of modern SharePoint, even when you want to completely revamp your site, there is no need for you to build another site. You can build a different homepage, a different looking workflow and experience right there on the same site and switch it out whenever you want. That helps. The modern SharePoint capability is that right in place, you can innovate and mix and match a lot of these web parts. If you feel like it, go extended with PNP, but you can do it all in the same site. Well, all of this is a roundabout way of saying we don't see the scenario of I have to switch my home site often happening. That said, technically it is something we support. Technically it's something that's possible, especially in the scenario where somebody does not yet have a communication site as the top of their intranet, but they'd still like to get the benefit of global navigation right away, and what happens in future, which they switch around. So we are working through the best approaches on handling that scenario.
Okay, the reason I was asking that question, I think you alluded to a little bit, was some organizations I've worked with, they have an intranet, but it's not in SharePoint or SharePoint Online. It's in some other system, and changing it from that system, which I would think they should move it to SharePoint Online modern communication sites. It's a, perhaps a political issue internally, or there's lots of people and stakeholders to convince, or, budgets need to be allocated to change it and switch it and move it over. And that's just not in place yet. So they don't have the internal will or budget to actually move it to a home site, or to a communication site and then a hub site. And doing so, designating something a home site is perhaps it's something they don't want to do yet because of internal political issues, or it might imply an intranet when, well, really there's an intranet over here and a different team manages that and we can't step on their toes because that would be bad. Those kinds of, non-technical reasons for not switching it over. But yeah, I like your answer though.
But at the end of the day, we want the tools that we build to be useful for real world scenarios. What you said absolutely could happen in somebody's organizational setup. And while we want the home site to be the top of your internet, we also want you to get the benefit of having a global navigation. And sure, you can go set it, use only the global navigation aspect of it, and the rest of the site, nobody even gets there. It's the way you are using it. We will not say no to it. We're not recommending that you do it. We want you to go use all the benefits of having a home site, not just the global navigation. We want you to be able to take that home site and put it in your Teams. Right? Something built on a non-SharePoint platform will not work as well inside Teams. And if Teams is our forward motion in terms of getting people to live and work and be productive on Teams, and having your intranet on Teams is a great thing. And we hear from a lot of our customers that that's a great thing to have, and home site will allow you to do that. So we want you to have all the benefits of having a home site, but corner cases will be effectively handled.
Great.
Okay, I'm gonna insert myself. You see how we do this? We're quick on the uptake. So
but that's good. You didn't talk over each other. You waited. That's awesome. I felt like I was going to be ripped into pieces. No, answer me that. No.
No, that's because I'm from Minnesota. They're Canadian. We're all very nice, and
that's actually true. Yes.
That's why. But DC, I watched your session at Ignite, and it's recorded, and I would really recommend it for our listeners. The session is called "Build and Launch a SharePoint Home Site: Tips and Tricks from the Product Team." And it features, and you're prominently featured in that. And what I loved about it is that you actually gave practical design ideas for how to build a home site. And there were a couple of them that I found not only right on, but very interesting that I wanted to highlight. One is, you say when you're designing your home site, you can obviously build out your home site using sections on your page. And you said, don't go from a 1-column section to a 2-column section to a 3-column section, because it can be very hard for your users to be able to kind of walk through your page and eyeball through your page that way. You said, find a pattern that leverages 2 types of sections and then repeat that pattern on the page. And I got to be honest with you, I do the same thing as I'm building out news pages. So anything else that you'd like to talk about, kind of why you put that recommendation in place?
Absolutely. So that specific thing comes from our awesome design team. So as you know, we have an extensive SharePoint design team that's deeply rooted in how our product is designed. and what are the capabilities that build on top of the SharePoint modern platform, and how users can be effectively using it. And that's where the most of our recommendations come out of the lookbook.microsoft.com. A lot of sites that our team puts together. So the idea is rooted in design. I will not claim to be an expert of design, but from my close interactions with my colleagues, what's rubbed off on me is there are typical, the ways our eyes move. It's actually built on human reading skills and human feasibility research on and how do your eyeballs move, and how do you read text that is running in one column from a different kind of text. How do you place images next to text, not top to bottom? There are all these guidances that they actually built into the product. Of course, with the modern SharePoint, you have the ability to do whatever you want, which will lead into the scenarios that Sarah talks about, right? Like have like a really big wide thing and then go to a double column, triple column, and then go back. So it's very hard to hold the attention of users and not have eye strain when they're trying to read content. So if you are bringing people onto either the home page of your intranet or a specific news article, as Sarah says, it's important to keep these things in mind, recommendations for how to keep text next to images and the various sections to be used. How do you use the background colors of various sections effectively? Sarah, I don't know if you're asking me for more tips or why we come up with these recommendations.
Well, I wanted to highlight a couple of them. That was one, and I have a second before Mike takes over. And Mike, I'll let you have the next question after this. But the thing that you recommended, and I'm actually going to say I was surprised at this, not because I don't believe it, but I think a lot of people are going to be like, DC, you want me to what? Because you actually said that in order to gain user interest and keep them coming back to your home site, you should change the layout of your home site page on a regular basis. And for a lot of people that have been doing that for a long time, right, it will make some people like nervous. Now, I actually like the idea of changing up your content, because the worst thing is a static page that doesn't change, because why would they come back? But I wanted to give you a chance to talk about kind of the frame up behind that and tell us more about what you mean.
Absolutely. So 3 years ago, we did a lot of research on what was the problem with the way intranets had been designed in the past. And the biggest concern, 80% of users came back with, oh, I know what shows up in there. I've been there 6 years ago. It's never changes. The biggest problem is, as she mentioned, the static nature of content. And while the static nature of content itself cannot be proven, the point is, if you don't even see the structure moving, you don't feel like anything is even changed in the actual news content that shows up in there. There is the familiarity, the curse of familiarity. If you drive by the same road every day and you happen to just see the same houses, you're never going to pay attention to is this window painted differently? You wouldn't know that difference in there. So one of the things that we feel great, proud about, and like we're happy with the way our customers use is the fact that the home site, the home page of your home site, the top of your internet, or even any top portal in your organization built on modern SharePoint, it has the ability to quickly be changed to respond to your immediate needs. For example, I would go to this Microsoft's top of the internet. It's called the Microsoft Web. We launched it as a home site early this year. And right after we launched, there was this big lockdown and the COVID hit. And the first thing the corporate communication manager, he pinged me on March and like, dude, great job we did launching before, because it helped me redesign the homepage and launch it in 3 hours. And that would have taken me several months. I had to go ask somebody, they have to code it up, we got to test this thing. We got that done in 3 hours, dude. That's just fantastic. And that is the spirit of what I was trying to say was, when you have business demands, when you have important requirements that want you to surface something differently, you have the flexibility of having that in modern SharePoint. Just create another homepage and make this the homepage. You can quickly transfer between various versions. And it's also a nice way to keep people anchored on, keep them coming. How do you keep them coming back? How do they know the content is fresh? Right? One is obviously having people come and see something is new. And as I was mentioning early on, I'm also thinking more about how do you take content that typically gets published in your top of your internet to the people wherever they are. That is why home site app in Teams is about bringing the home site to where people are. And the home site experience on your mobile app is, and notifications and scenarios based on that, is about bringing the news to people where they are. And recently you might have heard about the news digest, the automatic news digest that gets sent out. Again, that's based on what is the news that Mike might have missed out that got posted on the home site that he should probably be taking a look at based on the intelligence that Microsoft 365 is able to glean, and then send you an email and that says, we know you, everybody's on email. Here is an email that gives you all of the latest information, and that lets people come back and see what's new in the entire site itself. So we're not saying you must do this, but it's a great way of keeping fresh things. But I will also emphasize, you would hate it if your streets and your turn signals and your left turns and right turns kept changing on a daily basis. There is also something to be said about anchors. What are the page anchors? What are the navigational anchors that help people navigate and look at things? So it would be crazy for one day to your quick links to move from the left to right, and all you did was reorder the links in your quick links, or do things where it's just done for the sake of making a change rather than a reason for why you are able to use that flexibility and achieve your outcome. So there is a sweet spot in between where you're not changing too often, you're changing only a little bit, and you're keeping your anchor points in place so people don't feel like, oh my God, things moved and I don't know where to find the things that I'm used to quickly getting to where I want to get to.
Great answer. Mike, you're on mute.
There was some background noise, so I muted myself and I forgot.
You almost lost your chance to ask a question.
Oh. So I was saying this is the question, not the question I wanted to ask. So this is the pre-question. They stayed in that topic. I'm assuming, and the answer is yes, with the announcement at Ignite that you'll be able to apply design or a template on an existing communication site. I'm thinking that will be the same thing for the home site, because the home site is a communication site. You'll be able, in that topic that you just talked about, that I'll be able to change kind of the design of the home site. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So, but I would caution might be a strong word. I would remind you that typically the site design is something that we recommend get applied when you are building the site. Okay. When you've created a brand new communication site as a site owner, you land on the site, we prompt and tell you, hey, here are the templates available, go ahead and apply that. Because you got to remember, the moment you apply it, it's applied on your site. When you have a live traffic site, you want to be a little bit more careful on what goes live right away. So you have an existing home page. So if you are trying to move something around and make a change on that home page, the first thing you do is make a copy of that home page, which is another page in the page library. Go play with that page, make sure it looks okay before you go publish it and make that the home page of that site, right? So there's the slight nuance between changing the existing site and the layout of the home page itself and the site design being applied at the time of site creation. That's not to say you can't apply a different site design later on, but just think about how is this change going to impact my end users right after I do the apply the change and publish the change.
Very good point. So my question is one home site per tenant. And can you give us why, given if you're looking at big organizations, really, really large organizations, worldwide organizations that have maybe different culture, different departments, why one home site? And how is that one home site working within Microsoft that you implemented it, given that you are a large organization as well as a worldwide organization?
So I will tell you, I will answer the question you're trying to ask, and then I'll go back to our motivation. So fundamentally, the reason somebody would want multiple home sites is that they have they're a conglomerate, or they have different brands, identities inside an organization, and or they have a completely different product focus area. Or I don't want to name company names here, but you can all think of a large conglomerate of restaurants, and then restaurant A and B and C might all be owned by this blah, blah conglomerate, but people who work for restaurant A just work for restaurant A. They don't even know that restaurant B is part of the same organization, but they might all be part of the same Microsoft tenant. Those are clear scenarios that we've heard of where multiple home sites clearly having different home sites will make a sense. Like the destination itself is completely different. It's bounded. It's like a walled garden between those things, except they share just the domain name or the AAD tenant because they're all part of the same tenant per se from Microsoft point of view. So we are aware of that scenario. We're thinking about how to get that figured out, and what does it mean to have these different destinations? How does that manifest in somebody's actual experience? So again, it's always about you build something, but then how do your users know they have it? Like, where do they go to perceive the difference? And what does that mean is something we were working through. I'm gathering more feedback, and outside of this call, I'm soliciting this information on how do you think about various home sites. That said, I will go back to the first part of this question of a large organization with multiple geographical locations and multiple cultural aspects and languages. That's where we have a rich the content management system, the publication systems that we have. I strongly recommend using audience targeting and multilingual to have that one site look and feel and serve different purposes to different regions in your organization. So regions does not necessarily mean they need a different destination. I'll give you Microsoft as an example. We have that one site, Microsoft Web. It is the same destination irrespective of you working in India or Canada or in the United States itself. The way we make it work is by using audience targeting and multilingual effectively. So our employees, and we just recently launched it, our employees in Canada, when they log on to that site, they read content in French. It's the same URL that they go to. It's nothing different, but using the multilingual capabilities of modern SharePoint, our corporate communications team has been able to publish content in French and English simultaneously or near simultaneously. And now when French users with French language as their preference, they log on to the site, they read the content in French. Because of the way we built that entire framework, an English person reading the page can see a different image than the French person. So you can actually have that level of a difference in the cultural experience of people reading the same content. So we are able to do that. And when you think about India and the United States, most folks in India, they consume the content in English, but they see different content because of audience targeting. So we want to make sure that including the navigation and the news roll-up experiences and the quick links experience, we are able to show the right content for the right geography. So when I click on menus or cafe experiences on my site, it gives me the things that pertain to my own experience. Well, nowadays it doesn't matter. My menu is my kitchen. But when we were all at work, when I click on cafe menus, it takes me to my local thing. And when somebody in India clicks on that same thing, it takes it to what they were going to look at. And that's the power of having audience targeting, well set up and used effectively in rendering the content in your home site.
Love it.
So I feel like DC, we need to have you on another 3 times because I have 27 more questions with follow-ups. Antonio, do you have a final question for DC? Because I know we need to wrap up.
I do. Mike just stole my question, but I do have one more, and I don't know if it's quick, but we'll try. So DC, I was very excited about the announcement, and apologies for the dog in the background. I was very excited about the announcement about being able to have a home site in Teams. Mm-hmm. Can you just talk a little bit about how that works?
So essentially, the path is build a communication site, make that your home site. Once you make it a home site, the owner of the home site will have an affordance of saying, now I want this home site to be pinnable as an app on Teams. And once they do that, your Teams administrator will now be able to see that home site application available in Teams, and they have to approve the pinning. Once they approve it, every user in your organization, when they fire up their Teams client in the browser, in their desktop machine, they will see the icon for your home site. When you click on it, If you have set up the global navigation, that will also open up. Or if you have just the home site will open up and show you content. And we've done a lot of work to make that a seamless experience, being able to browse news content, go between the various sites, modern sites, inside the same frame of being inside in Teams. We did a lot of work to have that seamless experience delivered. This is just a straightforward setup experience.
That's great. Thank you. Very excited about that feature.
Hey, it turned out to be a quick question and a quick answer.
Yeah, I actually love that feature. It's the best one out of all the announcements, I think, at Ignite.
Cool.
Oh my goodness, that's a strong statement.
I know.
I really love that announcement.
I'm a big Syntax fan.
Oh, nice. So we went GA with Syntax. We were super excited about Syntax going GA. So yeah, I am by far not the expert on that thing, but I've been part of the team dogfooding it and taking it for a spin. We love it.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, DC. We have loved having you on the show. Thank you to everybody who has listened in. And DC, I have a feeling that we'll be trying to loop you back in to be a repeat guest.
Absolutely. I'm happy to do this as many times as it takes till we get to 0 questions on your board right there, Sarah.
That's fine. But OK, I appreciate you being a good sport at it. Thank you so much. And everyone, thank you for tuning in. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.